How is everyone doing today? We are here for another Obsidian office hours. And so what I thought we'd do today actually a bit is do almost a little bit of a pairing session in the sense that I want to do some live note taking as far as and more like note management too actually within Obsidian, so that those who may be new to it can kind of see what it's like as far as my day to day when using it. And more importantly, as always, as you all have questions in the chat or want to dive into specific Obsidian things, more than happy to do so. So with that, I say let's go ahead and get started. Let's see if my live screen works as expected. Okay, excellent. So we're good. All right, so as you can see here, we are inside of Obsidian. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So for today's Obsidian office hours, what we're here to talk about are basically how we manage skill development. And in this particular session, I have had a really big problem with managing, call it my notes regarding ukulele. And so what exactly about ukulele, right? Not necessarily research about it, but I guess you can't really see in this on the side here. But on the side, you've sometimes seen of the larger shots. So I've been learning ukulele. It's one of the hobbies that I've picked up inside or during the quarantine. And around the time I picked it up, that was around the time also I began using Obsidian, and I was trying to figure out how to keep track of private lessons, but then also notes around it. And I've tried a number of different ways, and it always kind of ended up falling short somehow. And it's kind of getting in the way for me at this point, because when I'm either taking lessons or trying to figure out how to reference certain things, it's not really coming up as intuitively as I'd like. So that's what we're going to go ahead and focus on today. All right, so let's go ahead and start. So for me, I have this a dashboard, right? So it looks like, okay, I did have a ukulele dashboard at one point, which is nice. Okay, so this ukulele dashboard to me is kind of where I want to go to when I kind of want to get a sense of what I've done, what I have. And so it looks like right now I have two different songs that I'm in the process of learning, it looks like. But this is definitely not accurate. But then more importantly, how about the lessons? What lessons have I taken? This is something I probably refer to a bit more. So if I were to talk about taking lessons, and you know what? I'm going to do a teacher for lessons. My teacher is a woman, so that works out great for me. Then from this point on, I'd like to then grab basically all the lessons I've had, and I'd probably want to do it in reverse chronological order, because what okay, I'll take a quick break. So I think from thesis here, we said we need some recap regarding what is happening in the world of Obsidian, new versions, new features, and net-worthy plugins. Okay, in that case, that's actually, again, one of the beautiful things about the editing. So what I'll do then is let's take call it the next kind of 50 minutes, I would say, kind of doing the live pairing session, where I'm going to go through, do the ukulele stuff. And then when we hit around the hour mark, which for me is 3 p.m., then we're going to go ahead and then take a look at some of the announcements, plugins, and that kind of stuff. And actually, thesis, your mention here is actually a really great point. In that this is something I've kind of wanted to start doing anyways, is sort of update template agenda to have a structured update and latest plugins bit. So I will, because that's one of the things where this is Obsidian office hours, so why not call it your weekly recap as far as releases, new exciting plugins. And so we'll do that at the hour, just because I want to make the editing for this a little bit easier, in that us focusing, hey, what's up, Dave? How's it going? We're going to focus on the ukulele notes first. And then after that, at the hour, then this way we can sort of split up on Obsidian updates and that kind of stuff, and share some resources. And that way in the future, I think what we'll do is we'll flip it. We will start off Obsidian office hours with sort of the latest and greatest, and call it spend the first 15 minutes or so, I think 15 to 20 minutes, talking about latest updates. And then from there, we can deep dive into various topics or live pairing from that regard. So I see that here from Dave. So let's see. How was your little break? It was good. Good enough to shake me out of I think what was like a perpetual burnout state of like just pandemic stress and everything. And so the week off was definitely much warranted. I'm gonna need to take more time off during the rest of the year, but in the meantime, it was certainly nice to at least try and do have a bit of that disconnect. So yes, Jimena, I did miss y'all. Honestly, streaming was probably the number one thing I missed as far as an activity, to be honest, because as much as getting on camera still can give me anxiety a little bit, but unlike recording things for call it YouTube and that kind of stuff, live stream has for me for whatever reason like some psychological piece of like I'm just getting on, I'm going to talk, and then we'll just figure out as it goes. I think part of it probably for me, I have some probably mental blocks as far as thinking of recording as some sort of like perfect scenario, and live stream for me. Okay, am I back? Okay, I think I'm back. That was super weird. Okay, I'm back. So basically, if you're wondering, I heard like a bing, and then all of a sudden, like Streamlabs is like stream is disconnected, attempting to reconnect. And what's weird is that I have a separate laptop here to the left, and that had internet. And so it was really weird to me because it's one thing if like my entire internet goes out, or, but then it was like this machine went down. Anyways, whatever. We're back. So that's gonna make my life a little bit more. You know what? Heck, no, no, no. We'll redo the intro a little bit so that I'll upload this particular video, and fun detected shutting down servers. Yeah, it certainly feels like that, right? Like right when we get back into it. So I'll go ahead and honestly, I think I'm just gonna splice the two videos together since I did an intro earlier. But yeah, with that said, we are gonna jump into the ukulele piece, like sort of like live pairing together, just showing you how I think about notes a lot of times, and especially with something like when you're learning something and like skill acquisition, I think that is always an interesting piece to me when it comes to tracking notes, because you need some sort of organization to kind of, in my opinion, for like planning and quick reference. But then often, again, we still want to leverage the graph relationship of notes. So that's kind of the piece that I want to get into here. So, all right, it looks like I am up. I am running. All right, let's do this. So for the ukulele, I have a dashboard. That's usually what I call notes that are meant to be sort of like central locations of ideas and things that I'm kind of constantly referring to, right? So you can think of these like a table of contents, and then maps of concepts are another term, MOCs, that some of the note-taking community also likes to say. So for me, I think MOCs are good, table of contents is good, but at the same time, like I think dashboard is a short enough sort of verbiage that like I think a lot of us know what that means, right? A collection and overview of data that is meaningful to us. That's like kind of what a dashboard means to me, and I think that's what makes it useful to kind of have dashboard notes. So in this case, you can see that I'd like to actually see lessons that I've taken, and then kind of like the songs that I'm in the middle of learning, and more importantly, one of the like again, I think note-taking is funny. It's a little bit similar to development in this regard, in that there's almost an infinite rabbit hole of notes that you could like create and things to do. And so I think as a result, this makes us a little bit like wary sometimes of getting into things. And so to make things sticky, I think what's really important is that problems you're trying to solve. So for me, the reason I create a dashboard is because I like to quickly reference things associated with something that I do a lot. So in this case, like ukulele, because otherwise what I'd have to do, if you can imagine, like I'd have to then somehow search through all my like lessons for ukulele and hope that the search gives me the most recent one. Whereas if I have something like the dashboard that will like show me all my lessons or the most recent ones, that's something I don't have to think about, right? That's where the computer aspect of it is very, very helpful, because I don't have to search for those things. So inside of the data view, let's do a list. And I believe I have a type for lesson. I do. And the skill is going to be ukulele. And so, one of the topics that's often comes out, I think, with note-taking, understandably so, is using tags versus links and this kind of thing. And for me, this is a great example of how you can use tags to compose attributes of a note. And maybe that's what maybe a better way to think about tags is they're attributes of notes rather than call it like relationship between categories. Because that's, I think, how they're traditionally used in blogs, right? Oh, I'm going to tag this post with Vue, with front-end development. And then all the blogs that are front-end development that are tagged that can be like lumped under umbrella. And I guess in some ways you could say that a topic of a piece of content is an attribute, but I'm gonna like just as like a gut feeling, I think there's something slightly off about that, because when you topics have relationships that go way beyond just mere, I think, categories, right? Because that's, I think, the other problem with tags too, is that while it is a strength as far as its ability to be very, call it, strongly typed, in that it's very fixed, right? Like type lesson is type lesson. You can't be like type lesson is also the equivalent of like, I don't know, event lesson or whatever. You can't do that. And again, we know that programmatically speaking, you do things like that as far as giving types aliases. But I think when we look at the way that note-taking software has progressed forward, right, when we talk about graph relationships, right? So for example, if I look at this ukulele dashboard, there's like nothing connected to it, right? But so let me like, if I connect ukulele to it, right, this will then jump out to here, and then we could, let's give it a little bit more depth, right? So this kind of thing is what we want to allow sort of more organic relationships to occur. But for attributes, I think this is where tags, and maybe that's what I'm just make a quick note on that. Tags should be treated like attributes. All right, so I'm just make a quick note about that. This can be like an evergreen note that I had, and then I'll get back to that another time. Okay, so now that I have skill ukulele, now I can go ahead and, okay, excellent. So we have some of the stuff showing up, but I am pretty darn sure that is not everything. Okay, so let's do some cleanup. Okay, first thing first, I don't want anything that is in the template folder. So I think the way I do this is not templates. There we go. Okay, so if you're wondering the syntax here, the and, actually I'm gonna do the and as a capital, because these are like database keywords, and I want to distinguish them from like the lowercase stuff that we typically have. So I want to say and not, so this is the dash for basically the minus sign. So, and not anything in the folder of templates. I find myself doing this actually quite a lot, because there's no point in querying that. So in that case, we can see I have, this is weirdly titled, so let's go ahead and fix that. So boom, excellent. All right, so this is good, but you know what, let me bump this up a little bit more for visibility purposes. The only thing that I find that's weird though is I want to figure out what date the lesson happened on. So here I have a date attribute. This is good. I do want that. So say table date as date. And so if I look at this now, we can see, okay, this is good. Sorted by date right here. Oh, it's not sorted though. So if we want to sort by date, let's see. So we can do sort by date ascending, I believe is what I want. No, I definitely not. I want descending. Okay, descending, this is good. So this makes sense because I had my latest lesson on the 30th with Chantal. So this is good. Good. All right, but I am pretty darn sure that I've been doing this for quite some time. So let's do some cleanup as far as figuring out what's going on. Why do I have so many music lessons that are missing, right? So if we go over here, for actually not here. If we go here, we'll see that I only go back to really like July with Chantal on 2021. See, like all my June, oh yeah, here's a bunch. There's a bunch here. Okay, so let's see. We can go through. So I did type lesson. Ah, that's what I didn't do. Okay, I tried to do instrument. But at one point, I realized that instrument was really too constrained for me. Oh, I don't have a skill. Okay, so here we go. Skill metadata is something that actually I do quite a bit. So what did I do for skill? I did that as a bow. I decided a bow and arrow was like the coolest icon I could think of for the snippets. So what did I call them? Attribute templates. All right, let me duplicate this. So I'll call this skill attribute template. And then here, there we go. So now that I have the skill attribute template, this should make it easier. So I can do skill, great. And then skill ukulele. So if all goes well with this, excellent. March now shows up. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of this together then. Let's keep going a little bit. Let's see. This is the only thing that's a little bit annoying. Can I open in a new pane? Like, how do I do this? Let me see. if I do hit enter, yeah, it kills. All right, so I guess I need to do a search here, and I need to go music lessons with. Okay, so that's fine. Can I collapse everything? Collapse results. Perfect. Okay, so music lessons with Chantal. Okay, good enough. I think I can work with this list. Okay, 712, director skill, this is good. Okay, May, I know for a fact May didn't have it. So we scroll down here, this is type lesson. And we want to make sure this is the, oh, we don't have skill here. So let's go ahead and add skill as an attribute. Skill uke, okay, that's good. June, definitely don't have very much for June. Oh man, there was like no template for this. So music lessons here. So, I mean, this is nice, right? So clearly I eventually templatized this to be type lesson, skill ukulele. All right, great. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop my notes from there before into here. Actually, let me put that in exercises for now, because I don't know how we did with that. Okay, what else do we got? Let's see. You know what, though? What might be useful, I realize, is... what if I didn't take out the skill ukulele? This might get a little bonkers real quick. But this gives me at least a little bit of a sense of whether or not skill... Okay, this helps. So this is kind of a, I guess call it like a little hack for trying to find the missing pieces where, you know, some of the stuff used to be tagged one way and then now you need to kind of update it. So in this case, you'll see that... there's a bunch of stuff here with skill. Okay, let me take out the skill Japanese here. So I don't need that. And minus skill. Oh, is that going to work? Let's see. We're going to find out if this works. Skill Japanese. I'm going to put the minus before that. Okay, that did work. A little bit of a weird syntax, but it'll work. So cool. So we know that here with 614, for example, when I took lessons this time, we had a type lesson. We didn't have a skill of ukulele, and then we have a date here, so I'm good. So that's good. And then, oh, apparently I was taking it back in January. Oh dear. Okay, so whoa, look at how old some of this metadata is. I definitely did not do all that. And so this is one of the funny things. I think there's been questions about this before, about like, well, at what point do I go through and like clean things up, right? Because I can tell you, as a programmer and someone who has like a little bit of like a slight OCD when it comes to like wanting everything to fit like the perfect format, it's really easy for me to come in and try to like reformat everything to the same template. But I would argue once again, like, what problem does that solve besides call it like, I'll call that, I think there was a TV show, I can't remember which one, but it's like a me problem, right? It doesn't impact anyone else. Like if I never clean this up, no one's gonna be impacted by this. It's just literally something that would bother me. Or I guess it might bother some of you if you're watching me do this. But as far as like data integrity goes, we know that right now the data integrity we care about is within this particular context, right? Of like, of trying to get the data of what's been going on. So once again, like type here. Okay, so interesting. So this here, I don't have a date. That was one of the things I need to fix with this. So if I do my date attribute here, I'm just gonna grab the May 24th from this. That should do the trick here. Good, May drops in correctly. And what's interesting though is that that's the only thing that shows up. When I'm pretty sure music lesson 06, let's see, we have 14, 20, do we already have, we don't have 21. Okay, so what happened with 21? Let's see. Type lesson area skills. So why isn't 21 showing up here? That is a problem. Type lesson, skill ukulele, complete, and the date. Okay, see, there you go. That's the problem. So this is this is one of the reasons why, at least at the moment with Obsidian, I do the date in the... Actually, let me double check. Okay, great. I do the date in the file title in addition to all these other pieces, because right now it's very hard to keep all these pieces in sync, especially programmatically speaking. And so I'm pretty sure at one point I was trying to refactor this and inserted a template that was hard-coded with this date. So the redundancy in this particular case, as we can see, that did happen to save me. So that's nice. So I can close this. So this is good. Okay, now this is looking much cleaner. We have everything. Now I'm going to do a quick check. 726, 12, 621, 14, 524. Okay, great. Music lessons on, let's see, generally speaking, 24th, 5, 3. I think that's it. Interesting though that it's limited. It doesn't do more as far as 2021. Okay, any in February? None in February. I did not take any lessons in February. I only took the one lesson in March. I took the one lesson in January. Did I do anything in April? You know what? I think so. This is part of the problem. So this is why I'm trying to. So again, when it comes to setting up infrastructure, the reason I'm trying to fix this right now is because now that I'm remembering, this is one of the problems I found is that whenever I wanted to say start, I knew I was having a lesson or I wanted to write stuff down. It was becoming increasingly difficult for me to do so in a way that made sense for me and would help me kind of progress. And so a lot of my ukulele journey, just to help explain, is that I'm really good in the lesson. I'm picking it up really excited. But then when I'm going back to refer to the lesson, I'm having a difficult time remembering either specific advice that that Chantal had for me, or more importantly, like what exactly was I supposed to practice, right? Even something as simple as that, which I really shouldn't be thinking about when I'm practicing. It should really be as simple as like open the book, hit this page, or drill these measures for this section of music. And that's the problem that I think I've been having. So all right, so it looks like at one point it was too painful for me to create stuff. So I think that's it, actually. I think we have, at least archivally speaking, I have all the lessons I've ever taken here, which is kind of neat. But this is now where we start to think about its usefulness from like a note-taking perspective. Because now that I've arranged my dashboard, now I kind of want to think about like when I'm in... for example, when I'm in the lessons with Chantal, the warm-ups that we do for each lesson can change, and sometimes she'll refer to things. She'll be like, do you remember when we did Spider number 2 from a few weeks ago? And before I had the dashboard, I was like, one, finding a few weeks ago is difficult because then I'd have to like look up the calendar or whatever. Now it's not so bad. Now I can just click and figure it out. But at the same time, if I've learned a new technique called like Spider number 2, for you know what, this is a real world example because I actually don't have the Spider number 2 skill actually memorized. So I think okay, I already started this a little bit. Spider 1, that's not it. Is it this one? Spider 2. Okay, here we go. Spider number 2. Okay, great. So at one point, so this is it. This was not consolidated. So now what's nice is that if I have a new lesson, right? So let's do like music. So music lesson with Chantal. And the next one I'm going to have is on Monday. So what date? All right, it's going to be 06. 21, 09, 06, for example. Right, so I typically have mine on Mondays. So I need to... it doesn't do the template automatically. All right, we're going to keep going. Bass note template. All right, bass notes template here. All right, so for those who haven't seen this before, this is my block of JavaScript that helps me to insert templates automatically based on the file title, which I've determined as a standard. And so if it wasn't obvious from the way I managed the notes originally, you notice that like all my music lessons are always titled music lessons with, and then I decided the with was helpful because it was nice to have the instructor as that sort of piece of it. So for example, if you're taking tutoring lessons from multiple tutors, you can still always say like, these are all my Japanese tutoring sessions, and then with the specific instructor. So it was a slight optimization because I don't have multiple ukulele instructors or music instructors. But in my opinion, it was like kind of a small thing to pre-optimize for, and could be realistic, right? Like if I decide to get a voice coach, or I decide to learn, I finally decided to embark on the challenge of learning an actual brass instrument. Who knows? So, maybe there's an argument to be said, maybe just call it ukulele lessons on this. Maybe that's good enough. So those are all perfectly valid alternatives. So, okay, so music lessons, here we go. So I'm going to call these my music lesson notes. And so if it starts, I was hoping the brass instruments would reveal a hidden cassadu. Oh, snap. I see also Dave here in the chat. All right, so Nihongo... Ooh, I don't know those kanji characters, but then okay, so my hiragana says that that'll be shite i iruka. I think that's ru. Iruka, I think, is what it is. Shite iruka. Uh, imase, I think it's what I know for Japanese. So, nihongo ga imasu ka, I think is what I'm trying to say. Hi. Nice. Dude, Dave, I did not know you were. So funny enough, I know the Chinese character for that. I don't know the kanji for that. Shie, I think is what you just said. Nani? Yeah, nandesu ka? Dude, Dave, I didn't know you either. I'm not sure. I'm assuming the fact that you just typed all that, you have a decent, moderate proficiency with Japanese. So I'm gonna have to slide into your DMs and hit you up for other resources you found helpful. Okay, what is this? Nope. Bego. Nope. See, this is the so for those who want to know a little. So Japanese, I think so. What Cassidy just put in is that it's katakana, most of it. My katakana is not nearly as. I'm a little bit better with the hiragana at this point, but the katakana is still. Nihongo ga nete ne. What's up, Jacob? Sorry, you walked in at a weird time. Apparently, I have found that we have some people in the chat who know some Japanese, and in fact, Dave is pretty Japanese with Ben now. My Japanese is still quite very, very fobbish. And to be honest, I think at one point we did a little bit of a Japanese session because I'm having trouble, similar to the ukulele one, I'm having a little bit trouble figuring out how I want to track my notes with Japanese. In that, like, I'm trying to figure out how to track phrases and like reference things because I'm also learning things at a pace where like I'm starting to lose track of like, because counting in Japanese is surprisingly difficult depending on what kind of thing you're saying. So yeah, so anyway, so like when you're doing days of the month, for example, like I think 1 through 10, you know what? I can show you. I have notes on this if I can find them. So Japanese, how did I do this? I think I did month, Japanese time. So this is bad, right? So the fact that I'm not able to find this already is a little bit of a problem. But let me go with, I know that got Japanese dictionary. Did I put it here? Gatsu day month. Nandesu ka? Let's see. Yeah, see. So check this out. So with the day of the week, normally you can see here it's like one, and then this is the character for day. So normally most of us who know learn like the little bit of Japanese we know for counting is like ichi, ni, san, yon, and that kind of thing. And so nichi is the word for day, for example, right? So you would think that like day 1 would be like ichi nichi, like one, like day 1, but it's not. It's tui tachi, right? And then like so the first 10 days are oh my gosh, I see here Dave has level 2 proficiency. Oh my gosh. I think so, Dave, I decided like for my Japanese learning, what I'm doing is I'm going to aim for, I'm just going to take the JLPT level 5 test and pass that first. And then, dang, you're level 2? Yeah, dang, I got to hit you up. That is amazing. So anyhow, so yeah, this is one of those things that, yeah, so like this, I always thought was a little bit weird because in Chinese, it would be literally just the number in the character. It would be like 一日, 二日. But in Japanese, apparently the first 10 days are special in this regard. And then here, starting the 11th day, is Juichi Nichi. And this makes sense because Ju is for 10. So 10-1 is how they say like 11. And it's similar to Chinese and some of the languages. So I think it's funny we're diving into Japanese. But what the heck? This is like, I mean, we're talking about cultivating knowledge, right? So this is the kind of thing. Hopefully this has some relevance. And so to me, I found this a little bit weird because it just wasn't as consistent from like a structure perspective. And again, I understand like some things just have significance, period. So things I have to memorize. But this means that, for example, this, I really should honestly, you know what? Heck, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to refactor this. Oh, I don't want this to be, I just want to be days of the month in Japanese. And so this is a note that hopefully I can go forward. If I'm ever like, how do I count the days of the month? I can just go days of the month, boom. And really what I probably want at some point is like, if I tag a note with Japanese, for example, it should always have the skill Japanese attached to it. And then the other thing I'm starting to try to figure out is like, is it worth it for me to start making notes on like individual phrases, for example? Because some phrases, like when you're conjugating verbs and that kind of stuff, are a bit different. And so one of the, hey, how's it going, Alex? So one of the things I've noticed with my note-taking adventures is, oh no, please. Oh, okay. I thought it kicked me out again. And I panicked. So one of the problems one of the problems I'm going to own up to, I think, with the way I've been approaching note-taking that I think has been a bit problematic is I have been approaching it a bit too much programmatically speaking, like kind of basically like it's a database for me. So, I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, right? Like I said, sometimes my adventures take me down rabbit holes and... Oh, it almost did. Okay, so thesis confirmed that I did see something weird in the glitch. So something's wrong with the matrix, everyone. Something's wrong. But anyways, looks like at least, you know, honestly though, yeah, hopefully my internet holds up. If not, I need to get another mesh router or something. Okay, so I was talking about owning up the problem with note-taking that I've found that I have. Is I've sort of gone down the rabbit hole of treating notes as database, treating notes basically as databases. And then like each note is like a record, and which is fine. Like there's actually a lot of value in that. I think the people here who have used Obsidian now for some time have seen the benefits of using things like data view with the tags to compose, and basically just as we saw here with the ukulele dashboard, right? It's really nice that you can construct sort of these data queries for your notes. On the other hand, though, I do think I've gone too far down the rabbit hole in that I've started losing a little bit of the organicness of what note-taking also is on the other spectrum, which is like almost no relationships, or how about, let me put it this way, no structured relationships in that regard. So like the way I kind of have like the ukulele lessons, that has a very consistent form to it, right? It's like a type of lesson, and it has a skill of ukulele, it has a date, and so, which is good, right? There, when you know you have a use case for structured data, there's a lot of value in that. On the other hand, when you have things, call it like Japanese, and you're learning like different phrases and this kind of stuff, it doesn't really make sense for you to try to always categorize everything at once, right? It's almost more important to actually take the note, because for example, in Japanese, like to go is ikimasu. Ikimasu is the mas form. Anyways, to iki, like to go. Again, I'm Dave is probably gonna correct me, but some of the verbs have like unique conjugations, and it'd be nice for me to just like not lump it into my lesson note, because I'll never ever remember to look at that specific lesson anymore. Not really, at least. So it's ikumas. Ikimas. Oh yeah, right. Iku, right. Iku is the base form. Ikimatsu is the mas form. See, things like that I should be able to go, you know what? Go in Japanese. Although go is... Anyways, and so I'm starting to at least pull back a little bit from the structured data and think more about creating more spontaneous notes going forward that allow just sort of that organic relationship, because I've really leaned heavily on the database side. And at some point, again, I think I've talked about this in one of my streams, but I'd like to see whether it's a plugin or something that like integrates well with Obsidian. I think there would be a lot of value for people to have like a database functionality like with Obsidian Notes. So in other words, if you give, let's say again, I think I call this a Obsidian schema. If you decide you want to run with this plugin idea, because I know I can tell you right now, especially after my break, I can tell you I don't have the bandwidth to build Obsidian schema. But while So Obsidian, the way it would work as far as a plugin integration would go is you would probably, let's say you tag, I would tag all my ukulele notes, right? In a perfect world, I would tag all my ukulele notes with a schema. I don't know, what's a good emoji for schema? It's like an organization, right? I mean, so folder, no, it's a structure. So it's like a building. I don't, okay, I'm gonna use a crane. So the schema, right? What your building blocks. So I don't know, call it, if you typed it schema music lesson, just like that, the plugin would have like a corresponding configuration file for schema lesson. And then it would basically always ensure that those data types are always like matched and in like a specific order or whatever. I think there's a lot of value in that because structured data has like, we have come so far in computer science programming and let's like as a human civilization using sort of fixed hierarchy, right? We had folders for things that we put in different cupboards. And even though it wasn't perfect, it worked. Now that we're using computers to allow us to have graph relationships that scale way beyond the linear directory format that we're all so used to, then I think there's still value in still leveraging the original type as far as like the fixed hierarchies, but let's just combine them then. So loving the stuff going on in the chat. Taking notes while playing, and counting in Japanese easy. That's one of the reasons I picked up ukulele, not gonna lie, is because it's one of those things where like if I'm in a meeting and like someone's giving a presentation and I just want to like listen, but I can like practice fingering patterns and like more important strengthening like the calluses and that kind of stuff. It is good stuff. So, and all right, so let's keep going though. So we were talking about, okay, so we're at the dashboard, right? Okay, so, oh, that's what I was doing. Wow, talk about tangents. Okay, bass note. Because right now, all my music lessons really, I shouldn't need to, the reason for the bass note programming here is that eventually, again, if note-taking systems are about tailoring and creating a personalized search engine that you can rely on that works for you, I think that these else-if conditions that say when a note starts with this format, when a note ends with this format, or a note contains the signifier, do this thing with it and give me this template. I think there's a ton of value in this. So in this case, I know that anytime it starts with music lesson, I should go ahead and honestly, I should just do the music lesson page template. That's what I should do. And so to show you this in action, I'm going to go ahead and let's kill off all the tabs to make this a little bit cleaner. And once again, let's look at for the music lessons on 906. Okay, so this one was already created. So I'm gonna redelete this to show you how this works. So I'm creating a new note and I'm like, hey, I need to take my music lessons with Chantal today. Today is September 6th. I'm going to create it. So once I create it, it hits the base note template and says, what kind of note is this? And then it'll go through all the conditionals and then say, it is a note that begins with music lesson. Excellent. Then I will drop in the music lesson template. And so you can see here, it is correctly giving Silmi the right ID and all this stuff because it was created today, even though this lesson is for the 6th. The only part that's slightly bad, I realized, look. So it looks like music lesson page template has a typo in here. It's doing date.now. Arguably, if I wanted to, in a perfect world, I should really pull the date from the file title. That for me has been the most consistent thing. But the Java writing the JavaScript for that is a little bit more bulky than it's worth at the moment. For me, I can just do a quick copy paste. It's really not a big deal for me at the moment. So that's why that one is not programmatically done. But okay, so Chantal is my instructor, type lesson, area music, skill, ukulele, status. Technically, it's not even, it's like in backlog. Okay, that's actually, let me fix that real quick within my music lesson. Ooh, that wasn't my music lesson page template. Great. In here, it should start out as a backlog. It should not be complete until I've wrapped everything up. Okay, so here we have our music lessons. And so, okay, so we were talking earlier about like referring to things, right? And so sometimes what Chantal will do is she'll go, okay, let's do spider number 2. So now I can just go spider number 2. And then we can go through it. And then if she has different like like advice for how to do spider number 2 better, it might seem right. The natural thing might be for me to come in here and be like, well, I'm gonna make sure to rest my thumb under the bridge better and keep my fingers closer to the metal frets, right? That might be like something she noticed in like, and so while I've gone back and forth on this, but I actually do think I have a settled result on this now. While it might, you might want this attached directly to, well, actually, hang on a sec. I might revise my thing real quick. Nope, I'm not revising it. Okay. While you might think that like, okay, this advice that I received was received on this date for this music lesson. So there's something, I do think there's something kind of, I'll call it like a romantic idea of knowing the timeline of when you learn certain things. Because, there's kind of a little bit of a fun discovery to be like, oh yeah, like I learned about this at this time or how many years ago. I think that's like, and so especially if you think about, imagine if as you're taking notes and you're like, oh, this was an interesting nugget that I learned. And that like when people are like, oh, these are like 40 lessons I learned, now that I'm 40, for example, in case you're wondering, I am not 40, but for example, then it would be cool if you could just like query all, I don't know, the nuggets you had within like the year. I don't know. I'm just saying there are ideas spinning in my head. So the problem, though, is that if later on I'm going to practice spider number 2, certainly I think most people might probably do something as simple as just go to the last lesson and use that for their training and follow along. But for me, sometimes I would say if eventually I build something a little bit more programmatic, arguably I'm going to open spider number 2 to refresh my memory on what's in it. But then more importantly, that's when I can go in there and sort of take the notes. So in my case, I think it makes more sense to take like the notes here, for example, and then go on from there. So this is the actual exercise itself. So this is my about. And so now I'm trying to figure out what's the best. So I think this is the way I ended up taking notes on it. 1, 3, 2, 4. The monospace works out actually pretty well. Oh, it does not look good with that. So this is where I probably need to change this a little bit. 1, 2, 3, like that. Will this look better? Then the 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I think this will look cleaner. 1, 3, 2, 4. Yeah, that looks much better. I'll go play. Yep, my 40th birthday is gonna be me going through Obsidian, try to compile all the various notes within it. So yeah, so okay. I mean, honestly, let's just do this real quick. 4, 3, 2, 4, 1, 2. And then from 2, then we shift to a new pattern, which here is 1. Oh, this is kind of off base a little bit. Then 3, 4, 2, 1. Yep, that looks. Oh, that looks terrible. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then. Much better. Dang it. Whatever. I'll figure it out. At least the mono space works for me. Anyways. 503, you are way too kind. I am not 23. That's wait. Gosh, can you imagine? I have been streaming for a long time when it comes to the 40. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. All right, so we've talked about being sort of a bit more mindful about this piece. So once again, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this file, to be honest, because it's no longer accurate. Let's see. Is there anything else we can do regarding... We have 5 more minutes until it's time to get into. So yeah, I learned about diatonic scales, dominant, seventh. These are all things that honestly probably deserve to be broken out to their own notes in the future. But as far as like... Actually, I would say, though, for spider number 2, I just realized this is something that actually spider number 2 should really be, I guess I'll call it a type exercise at this point. I'm not sure I really like that. I'm going to say that right now. But this is something that like I want to kind of be able... This does, I think, have some structure for me that's worth it. Oh, it's kind of cool. I could say the origin of when I learned it. Did I learn it back in July? That's cool if that's the case. This is kind of useful, I think, because then if ever I want to look at all the different types, yeah, this is a ukulele exercise. I think this paradigm works. This pairing works together. So this exercise, yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna just kick that off, and then the ukulele dashboard here. Songs, I need to get better at that, but I'm happy about this. Okay, so this means now my ukulele stuff is much, much more organized. I need to eventually go back and start figuring out what songs I've learned. And so, some of the things I've been trying to figure out with songs is like trying to figure out how to keep track of the various pieces. So for example, this is way too big. So again, like the web developer in me is like, oh, it's just an Electron app. I could style this. I haven't had the time but like, I thought it'd be cool to like have like the cover of the album art. And then this is the specific cover that I was learning from Renee Dominique. Her version is gorgeous. If you haven't heard it, definitely recommended. And then, let's see. And then trying to figure out, I was trying to figure out how to document the song in it. Inside of the notes, so that like if I'm traveling with my ukulele, I don't have internet and I want to practice the song, how would I do this? And this is still a work in progress. I'll just put it that way. I still don't know exactly how I want to do it, because for example, even the different chords here, F, E7, A minor, G minor, I know most of them instinctively now, because of like my association with the song, but like from a point of like when I'm learning something, right? Because I'll be honest, when you're telling me G minor right now, I think I know what it is. I'd have to hear it before I might know what it is. But like, I shouldn't have to think. I should be able to, like, if I wanted to, I should be able to click on the G minor chord, write notes about it, and then I could write different techniques. Because I've learned that, for example, when learning the ukulele, I have like different almost finger patterns that makes a little bit more sense to me from like switching it up or like things I'm more comfortable with. So that would actually make sense, because in addition to let's say the G minor chord telling me exactly what strings it's on, I could also then do things like variations, because one of the things I learned about apparently when you're doing stringed instruments is sometimes the same chord has different variations that you might play depending on the position. You might only strum 3 strings in a certain position over. Anyways, I'm ranting about ukulele stuff. But I haven't done that yet. And I would honestly, I would really like to, because I think that would help solidify my knowledge that much more around the chords and around how they work. So just something I am thinking about, clearly. So yeah. Anyways, all right. With that, we have wrapped up I'll call it more the ad hoc pairing with Ben, fun, tangents with the chat. And again, I think it's funny. I will say this: if someone, no, you know what? No, I'm not doing this, because I'm pretty sure I know how the chat will respond. But if y'all get close to the age, I'm happy to tell y'all. But now that we have done this piece of it, thesis, I am here now and ready for this other part that we're gonna flip it in the future. But I think it's time for us to talk about what's been happening with Obsidian. So what I'm gonna do here is, I think this is gonna be pretty safe. All right. So I'm gonna bring this up. I mean, this should be, if in case anyone is worried about. I mean, yes, you can see the various channels that I'm in, but that's all you're able to do with this. So I'm not really concerned with that. But what you see here, though, is the official Obsidian Discord. So actually, again, in lieu of trying to be better about things in terms of like sharing information, and more importantly, trying to improve the show notes, honestly, that's like been a big part for me that I'm really trying to get better at. You know what? I think this is actually the better link to share with y'all. Yes, we see Jimena's face on the chat. All right, so here, let me go ahead and open up my Obsidian office hours, episode 14. I really need an alias. Oh, did I have the aliases yet? That's what I need I want to fix. Office hours, every time I type that is way too many characters that I definitely have an acronym at this point for. So I'm sharing this with y'all. And then actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and stop. I'm going to go ahead and can I share? How do I share the link? No? Well, oh, here, share. All right, share the link. So in case anyone, just like fun resource that I did share. I mean, technically I did talk about her rendition and I do really love it as it's like I'm trying to learn how she does it. So that's going in. Oh, actually, I do need to write down what it is because I'm not going to remember. HTTPS, just the two of us, Renee, Dominique. People judging my channel order. I am having some trouble with that. I tried putting stuff in folders at one point, but I found that was like, I don't know. If anyone has ideas around channel organization, please let me know because I find myself constantly moving stuff up and down with things. All right. That said, let's. Can I zoom in on this? I can. Most excellent. I was gonna say this is an Electron app. I fully expect to be able to zoom for this stuff. All right. So, as far as something for you all to know about, so one, Obsidian Discord is actually a fantastic place to be because you can get all your Obsidian updates directly through there. However, I know that this is a bit of a cop out in the sense that like. We all have a lot of things we're trying to keep track of. And so for those of if you are following me specifically for Obsidian and you'd like to get like my recap on those things, I do my best to follow it. But honestly, as you can see, I got a lot of Discord channels to follow. So I totally empathize for those of you who are like, I have so much to keep track of. I mean, take a look at how many like cool channels they have. But like at the same time, like it can be difficult to track. So as far as important things to keep in mind, going forward, I think on Obsidian office hours, we'll be going ahead. We will be doing any sort of key announcements that come from the Discord community, so that basically directly from the team itself. And then, as we'll see going forward with the rest of the half an hour that we have, I'll show you some of the other resources I use to keep up to date with it. But more importantly, like again, if you don't have room for like another newsletter or whatever, I will be talking about it and the things I'm interested of within these things. So this definitely is a way. Jimena said folders. Yep. Only RWC, Shop Talk Show, and Party Core Gear and two private ones are outside folders. Yeah, I think at one point for the Discord organization, I was like, I put like, so you can notice like a lot of my view channels are all up on the top together. So they probably should go, but like I access the view team channel fairly often and it's like, I don't know. We'll see. Anyways. Okay, back to this stuff. So the big announcement, at least from an Obsidian perspective, for those of you who are interested in Obsidian Sync or Obsidian Publish, so just as a quick reminder, so Obsidian Sync, as far as this service go, is basically Obsidian's offering of syncing your data to a cloud provider. And to show you a little bit of what that's like, I guess is a little bit of, I wouldn't call it a pitch because I am really big about choosing what's best for you. So if you don't want to use this, I'm not going to be offended at all. Yeah, you'll see that there's like a sync plugin, as you would expect from Obsidian. You can tell it what things to do, but then more importantly, you can see that it allows you to do things like view all the deleted files that you had recently. That allows you to then, like, let's say this one, it was deleted. I could look at the version of it. I could restore the version. So it's nice because it gives you a little bit of that kind of like commit history of what you've done. And so this has saved me quite a bit a couple of times in that when like at one point, okay, not this file, sync activity, I think was, so you can sync specific folders, etc., sync images, but check this out. So for example, one of the things that got botched one time, it looks like it's been a while, so I haven't done this recently. But imagine if like, I don't know, does anything have a long history? Oh, you know what? I know what to do. So basically, with the version history, it's nice because sometimes you make changes, you forget about it, or something gets overridden from another device because, you know, life happens. They do contain version history within this, so I think you all saw this a little bit. Okay, apparently, apparently I am maybe asking Obsidian Sync to go a little too far. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to crash it. But you all saw it a little bit earlier, actually, with this. So basically, on the left, you'll see a bunch of date timestamps of when it was synced. And then if you have specific versions you want to restore to or whatever, then you can go ahead and do that. So Obsidian Sync is quite nice, and it also makes it really easy then to also sync with mobile. But again, big caveat: Obsidian Mobile, like the mobile app itself, syncs with other services as well. Particularly, I think if you're on Android, Google Drive works really well, and then iCloud is the other one that they recommend for iOS. And I think Dropbox also works with Android. But anyways, look into the sync service, see what you like. But if you're looking for something that's built in just for Obsidian, then Obsidian Sync is kind of your the way to go. And the nice thing about Obsidian Sync, actually, I'm looking priority email support, built-in version history. I don't see a cap as far as size of vault. I imagine that will come at some point. But for those of us maybe storing things additionally, because I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to store some of my larger files, like some videos, some images in Obsidian, because I like being able to search for those assets through the attributes that are relevant. Like if it's attached to a person and whatnot, like that's really nice to have that all in one folder. So I'm not gonna lie, my Obsidian vault is a little bit becoming like my Dropbox, like centralized location. But there's no, I mean, other storage things have limits on it. So I'm just gonna say that it's not a bad deal. So anyways, but nonetheless, it's not that it'll go away. So Obsidian Sync at its early bird pricing of $4 a month, lifetime early bird, basically billed annually. That will be ending on September 30th. So after that, it will jump up. It looks like to $8, which again, to be honest, considering how much I pay for Dropbox and other things, still relatively inexpensive. But if you really want that $4 price range, that is here for you. Now, the other thing, too, that I'm going to then talk about is Obsidian Published. And this has come up a couple of times during my stream. And so for those wondering what Obsidian Published does is you basically point it at your directory. So in this case, I am pointing it at my digital garden because it's like, you know, I consider a digital garden something that people walk through that's shared. And for me, my digital forest is more of like my kind of messier. So that's why I call my note system, my digital forest, and the digital garden is the stuff that like is ready for the public to walk through a bit. So this, as you can see, this is a bit outdated. I finished Think Again actually quite long ago. But what's nice about it is it has sort of like the ability, it has like kind of its own UI for tracking your website. So you can see as I click through different notes, it's jumping kind of Annie Matuszak style from like sliding panes, and I can kind of go back and see here. So I can be like, oh, you know, like this was Ted Kaczynski, and then here, and then, you know, oh yeah, anyways. So there are some UI things I would want to fix with how it's published. And so for me, honestly, when it comes to Obsidian, also, why can't I close so it's things like this so normally you're able to close this. I'm just gonna refresh because I don't want this to sit forever. Okay, like that. There you go. Okay. So the thing I really like about this is that it does the graph relationships. You can see this in the upper right, and then you can expand this even more to see the graph. And so this is something that you can see. Again, let me drop this in the chat that you can actually see that. So basically, it's automatically managed for you in that for those of us in web development, you might be used to like something push being built and you need to deploy it with your service, whether it's Netlify or whatnot. Obsidian Publish does all of it for you. The only thing though is that it's just a little like there are supposed to be ways for you to like do more custom domain things. I haven't been able to get that to work easily. Granted, it's been a little while since I tried, but in my perfect world, I'd like my bencozen.io domain to contain my digital garden. The only other problem that I'm having with this personally with Publish is that I have very limited ability to customize the UI, not from a stylistic perspective, but from a functionality perspective, in that if I wanted to add a UI to close a specific tab, that kind of stuff, can't do it because there's not really a framework for me to work with in order to allow me to do those things. So, you know, if the Obsidian team is listening, it would be great if y'all had an offering. I would honestly pay for this, like to access the ability to like get a generator that would automatically either generate the pages and relationships, because that's one of the things I think Obsidian does incredibly well, in that like it knows what's related to what. And then if I could take that data and then use Nuxt in my case to like generate the site, that would be preferred. So that is Obsidian Publish. So so in other words, if you don't need that level of customization, but you want to be able to share parts of your vault in a way that's like public for everyone to see, Obsidian Publish is actually a really excellent solution that allows you to do this. It's just for me personally as a web developer, I would love a little bit more personalization. So as you can see, I am paying for it because I have my publish Ben Code Zen domain with Obsidian. But as far as like things I would love, that's what I would do. So this is $8 a month per site. And so if you want that early bird pricing, that's what's available to you. So Jacob has a great question here regarding the Obsidian sync and an API. As far as I'm aware, no. I haven't seen anything as far as like a developer piece in order to talk with sync. Because, yeah, honestly, I wish if they could give a publish an API, again, I would pay for that. That would be awesome because I would then talk to it and do a lot of fun things with it. So, okay. That said, we've covered. Oh, Jacob was saying, I just want my file content. Okay, got it. So regarding file content, what I've actually seen people do and what I'm actually thinking about doing for fun is, since your folder is a markdown directory anyways, so for example, I know that Nux content, I could just point Nux content at my digital garden and then I would have access to it. So hacky Google script, use something better. I see. Yeah, I'll let you know if I come up with anything regarding how to get better access to the Obsidian files. Because to me, in addition to getting access to the Obsidian files, though, this is also actually I realized this is the other problem I have. Right now, I think Obsidian needs also so this is something this one I'm willing to say I may end up working on. I would like some sort of intermediary JavaScript plugin that can take the files from Obsidian and translate those relationships into a way that's like useful to other frameworks. Because, for example, we saw earlier here in the publish, right, that there's this whole graph relationship and that, like, you know, when you click on this, it knows that it's related to these things. Like, it'd be nice if like some of that stuff could be more automated from like referencing it, because they're not always straight links. Some of them are internal links, some of them are, I don't know, thoughts, ideas. Okay, so these are the kind of big, I wanted to do like a little bit of a pitch, but going forward, I think one of the things I should probably do is, if anything, I'll turn those into like mini YouTube clips, and hopefully those can be shared with people who kind of want to see those pieces. But we're not done. We still got 20 minutes? Less than, nonetheless. One of the great resources here is called obsidianroundup.org. And this is done by the amazing Eleanor Connick, who is an awesome member of the Obsidian community. And so if there is, I will say this, if there is one Obsidian newsletter, not that I'm aware of too many else, but like I've followed this one for quite a while as far as content goes. She is top notch with her roundups and the things in here. So let's see, 8:28. Actually, I'm a little curious. I kind of have to time these. Since I'm streaming on Thursday, 8:28 was last week. Was that a Saturday? Saturday. Okay, it's released on a Saturday. Okay, that's fine. So that actually works out. So this actually works out perfectly. So basically, I think as part of Obsidian office hours going forward, I think I'll be talking a bit about some of the roundups that have come up through Eleanor's research, and then obviously I'll add in my own as well as some takes. But as you can see here, this has been pretty great. There are other people giving talks within their community. This one is a little bit trickier, though. I wish there was like more of a subscription thing for this. But let's see. Plugins, admonitions. Okay, so some of the things I really like about her plugins here, in addition to like talking about like updates within Obsidian. So actually, I just realized we should talk a little bit about Obsidian updates. So I'll tag that for later. But within this, she also kind of covers a lot of the different plugins that are being released. And what's nice about this is it's not that I'm not recommending that you install every plugin in here, but she does a great job kind of making a mention of what the plugin does and why it's useful. And so, for example, Obsidian annotator here is for like annotating PDFs and EPUBs in Obsidian. Now, so I would say that for me personally, I don't do that a lot. So annotator is not very useful for me, but it's nice to know that, like, you know, in the future, if someone is doing that a lot, that's there for you. And then otherwise, so this is one, for example, that I think needs to go on my list. Task Archiver. This is actually something that I almost thought about doing today, where one of my complaints about the tasks within Obsidian is that when you're in here and you complete a task, that it's always marked as just completed. And so this plugin is interesting to me because it shows another thing that I always thought was possible, which is that if you can detect the state of something, you can move it under a specific heading. And so this task, what this will do here is basically just move all the completed items into an archive state so that it cleans up like your heading. So that if you are, so for those who have followed, like if you didn't watch, I have a task management one I did like, I think 2 weeks ago. So if you're querying and organizing your tasks, so let me go ahead and here's my sandbox note. If I'm organizing my tasks, call it by like statuses. So I have like backlog, I have in progress, I have blocked or complete, for example. What might be nice is that you might want to be able to then say that like I want to query all tasks that are in progress. And so if you're using the Obsidian task here, so let me task create task. So again, I'll just take out the trash. Fine, right? Monday, fine. So here we go. You see that here's a task that's managed, and then eventually you're like, okay, I actually completed the task. There we go. I completed it on 9/2, and then so typically you might want to move it to complete. Well, I was thinking that if you could like do a cron job of it, that automatically anything that is that is more than a week old or more than a month old, those should be moved to archive because those are no longer really like relevant complete tasks. As some of you probably have noticed, one of my big obsessions with Obsidian is the ability to find ways to trace origins and see relationships between things, which shouldn't be surprising. I think that's what a lot of people like about it. But I mean to the extent that which like, for me, like if I'm looking at a project progression, I'm doing all this effort to track the actions and I'm doing all this effort to track the relationships. So why wouldn't I want the flexibility to then say, what was my like rate of completion of, right? Like how did it move? And again, to me, we spend so much time tracking the data. Why can't we take that to gather at least some sort of insight on it is kind of the basic theory on it. So that said, okay, so what else do we got? That's the Obsidian task, shiny new things. Yes. Okay. So as far as lately, I think I haven't done, I guess the last minor version for Obsidian was, looks like they have 15 is up. Okay, here's a change log. So let me drop change log stuff as well into the chat. So, I just realized I did not update my note, and this is how I lose stuff later. And then I get overwhelmed trying to like reclaim everything. So I dropped the change log stuff. So I'm going to do Obsidian change log, share that with y'all. And also we did the roundup. Great. Okay, so 14. So 12 is the official. Oh, I forgot. I'm on the insider build. So for those who don't know, insider build, think of it like a nightly build for software. It's you're basically on the latest and greatest, but this does mean that things are more likely to break. So to give you an example, at one point the global macro for opening up your graph was disabled for some reason. And so I remember I was like trying to debug that and figure it out. And it wasn't me, it was just I was on beta. And unfortunately, the command had accidentally been borked. So, okay, let's talk about some of the cool things from 0.12, which for those are basically unstable that you might want to know about. So basically, it's little UX stuff like this that I really love. And I'm always so shocked when I see more custom web applications not understand the value of this. And so what I mean by that is like when you're looking at your plugins, this search at the top did not used to exist. So what you would have to do is just scroll down and be like, where's the thing I'm looking for? And it's like most of us are looking for something specific. So if I'm looking for like composer, like this sort of filtering to me, like especially once you get into your power users and this kind of, actually I would argue not even power users. When people are looking for things like settings, you want to be able to filter down. And obviously it's important to have the right metadata so people can filter down to the right thing. But once you have, like, it's just nice to be able to go like, yeah, where's my sync plugin? Like, boom, sync. So excellent UX improvement on their side with that. Let's see. So, ooh, this is cool. So for example, now that it'll actually basically focus, like there's a different color for the file that's currently open. And I like this a lot because if you take a look at, say, Obsidian office hours, right? Let me go ahead and connect that to, I realize, Obsidian. So this is another one I really should create a base note for because I'm really tired of constantly tagging this stuff. I shouldn't need to do that. So here, if I see Obsidian office hours here, right? If I go ahead and let's just expand the depth like a decent amount, like 3, you'll see actually that it's pretty intense from a graph perspective. And in the past, I think the current file did not have a way for you to customize it. So it was just like gray, or you kind of had to guess where it was. And I like the fact now that it's actually a custom color that you can basically define in your theme. So that is pretty darn cool. This is very significant to me for those of us using Obsidian Publish. And in fact, I had proposed basically this very concept, I think. And so, actually, to be very clear, I'm not claiming credit for it. It's nice to know that my API design was similar to what they ended up coming out with, which is rather now. And so this is something that might actually prevent. This might allow me to better manage my files for publishing so that my published Digital Garden can be a little bit easier. Is that the reason why I had done a folder, to be honest, called Digital Garden is because it was a way for me to very consistently know that something that wasn't ready to be, or something, basically only things that I wanted to be published in Digital Garden would go out. And so I could basically point Obsidian Published at that directory. However, what would be cooler, which it happens now, is that, let's see. When you define publish true on front matter now, that will then get picked up by Obsidian Publish and then send it out. This will be a fairly significant refactor for me to get working correctly because for those who don't know, I have a lot of notes. But it's nice to know that this option is now available, and again, that the API design was quite similar. Your computer grew intensity. So the thesis question, the M1 so far has been enough for the Obsidian, actually, even at the graph level. So, all right, challenge accepted. Here we go. I'm closing out, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up my, there you go. Here's my global graph. Here it is. It's struggling a little bit, I think, to render all the SVGs, but overall, it's not hanging and seems to be working as expected. So I think once the initial render is done, here's my little asteroid belt of orphan notes. Yeah, so it's fairly, it's struggling a little bit, I think particularly also because of the stream, but it seems to work. And I've never had a real problem, at least on my day-to-day. I haven't noticed anything struggling in that regard. So, all right. Oh, finally. Okay, breaking changes for us developers. Obsidian CSS no longer available. So please now actually put it in the themes folder. I think most of us have already been doing that, but in case, that's basically that. And just fix some bugs that are not worth mentioning. But yeah, so once again, I think I'll try going forward to, when we're doing this stuff, to check out the latest and greatest, right? Go over some highlights that I find from the changelog, as well as, once again, the roundup here, along with different things regarding, look at this, prettification. What a great command. So like Obsidian banners. This might be something I actually want. So let's see, let's take a look at how this does. So you have your H1 and you have your banner, and then add change banner from clipboard. Whoa. So this is very, very Notion-like. I'm not gonna lie, I do like that, and I do like that it's, wait, you can even do your local files, and you can drag it and save the position. Oh damn, this is going, or darn, this is going in my I gotta make a note about this. All right, how do we do this? All right, so we're gonna do Obsidian banner plugin, and then it doesn't know what it is. Type app This is related to Obsidian. So actually, shoot, how did I do Obsidian? Oh, not Obsidian the Rock, the app. Yeah, that's right. That's how I did it. Okay, cool. And so that's neat that someone did that. Let's see, add icons to folders without having the mess of emojis. I mean, so this one, let me see. Ooh, that is pretty cool because, oh, I like this a lot. Because that's one of the reasons I use numbers. It's because I want to be able to, oh, this is very, very cool. I like this a lot. You know what? Heck, we have time, right? Okay, I have like 2 minutes. So let's just try this out real quick. Obsidian, browse for plugins, folder icon. Is that not called icon folder? Icoin folder. Oh, it's not in here. Okay, I'm not gonna. How to use delete icon. Okay, so it's clearly not totally ready. I think I'd have to download it, build it, and put it in. It's kind of, but anyways, I'll start anyways because this is cool. But anyways, oh my gosh, this is something I do want. Code snippet that I can copy and give me the I don't care as much for that, but okay. Anyways, it should be in the core. Wait, what? These are in the core. Are you saying these are in core plugins? Daily notes templates. I don't think no, there's no core. Anyways, Dave, thanks so much for hanging out. Appreciate ya. I'll hit you up in DMs for Japanese. Get ready for that. All right. Okay. Well, with that, anyways, so this stuff is very, very cool. Basically, Obsidian Roundup, if you're looking to get ahead of the stream and you want to poke around, because obviously I'll tell you right now, what I'm not going to do is walk through line by line of all this stuff. I basically, at least with the stream, will do the highlighted recaps and the stuff I care about. Oh, devs should add them. Yeah, we'll figure that out. And so, oh yeah, you can copy them into manifest.json. Yeah, I'm not going to do that at the moment. But lots of so many things in here. Holy smokes. So many things. Anyhow, again, much love to Eleanor and her work. Gosh, I need to figure out, there's a membership. Oh, heck yeah. Okay, I need to do that to support her. So if you want to support Eleanor, she has a way to subscribe. So that's what I'm going to do right after this stream. With that said, let's go and switch over to intermission. Once again, thanks everyone for coming to hang out. So appreciate y'all and hope y'all have a wonderful and lovely day.